you say race car, four-door Golf is probably not going to be the first thing that pops into most people's heads. Luckily, the guys at Eurosport aren't most people. These guys live to race, modify, and drive V-dubs. They started out with this Golf like any other race car, stripping out nearly 300 pounds of unnecessary stuff. That includes the interior and air conditioning, the stereo, all of that. But unlike most racers, they did something different. There aren't any one-off custom parts here. Everything they did is stuff they sell, stuff right off the shelf, stuff you can put on your car. So Mark IV, it's actually a really good basis for a project car. These cars have kind of gotten a bad reputation. Part of that is from the kind of people that drive them. Those people that refer to them as MK4s. You know, everybody wants to get one of these and slam it. It basically ruined the car. When in actuality, I mean, this thing, it handles great. Tons of potential for performance. Believe it or not, they're pretty reliable. I mean, I've owned a couple of these. Eurosport went with H&R Coilovers on this thing. And most people are going to look at it and they're going to say, well, it's not that low. But they wanted it to handle. And most people get coilovers and they crank them way down. They kill the handling. They decided, you know what? Let's keep it at the best height for handling, which may not be as low as it can go, but the suspension actually works. And it really does. This is probably the best handling Mark IV I've driven. One of the things this car does really well, because of the extra ride height, when the road kind of transitions from one camber to another, this thing still stays completely planted. Despite what you see on TV, when your tires aren't on the ground, they don't grip very well. See right there, I can brake on an even pavement and it just sticks. Now this thing it's only about 210 horsepower at the wheel, which for a 1.8T is fairly low, but still on the factory turbo. It's got all the bolt-ons basically Eurosport offers. Front mount intercooler intake, turbo back exhaust. It's GIAC software, which is pretty aggressive, but it's still really safe. The limited slip diff in this car makes such a huge difference. It's unbelievable. Volkswagen fans have been screaming for a limited slip diff from Volkswagen probably since, well, the Mark II. A really good mechanical limited slip diff. There's just nothing better. This is one of those cars that is by far more than the sum of its parts. If you don't like Mark IVs, it's because you haven't driven this one. All right, we're here with Rafi from Eurosport, the guys that actually built the 1.8T we were driving yesterday. We thought we'd start out first by talking about some of the suspension parts that went on that car.
Well, we're using the basic off-the-shelf H&R Coilover kit. We're using a little bit higher spring rates in the front just because of the requirements, and we're not using sway bars on the car besides factory. But it's off-the-shelf H&R Street Coilover kit, which is a direct bolt-on, no modification. And using some H&R spacers for clearance of the tires and the wheels, because we were using larger wheels and tires. And some camber plates in the front for more negative camber, a little bit more caster, and SPC shims in the rear for more negative. All this basically giving us more grip and handling. So it really makes a huge difference in stability of the car.
Everything you did to the engine is off the shelf also, right? You can sell people everything you've done to it.
Pretty much, yeah. These are very straightforward, simple bolt-ons. We've been selling these for years. Basically it's a 2.5-inch stainless downpipe, direct bolt-on to the turbo.
Uh-huh.
We use a cat on there, and it's 2.5-inch with a matching 2.5-inch complete system. And then we also have in this application the underdrive pulley, which is good for takes about 3 pounds off the crank. We also use the simple pistons type diverter valve we make, and then it's aluminum. And moving on to the intercooler kit, this is something we came up with last year. We've been selling them for about a year now, I guess. The kit basically is a front mount compared to the side mount.
Right.
Turbo 1.8T intercoolers, very efficient, direct airflow, and this is capable of up to 325 horsepower. And one of the biggest things with all these parts is the software, the GIAC software we use. But we have the switchable possibility where we can plug this into the OBD2 port and switch it to the performance file or the racecast file, depending what we have in it.
Now with pretty much all the stuff we're looking at, it is bolt-on, it is off the shelf, but also another great thing is that pretty much you could do one at a time.
Yes. One of the biggest things is most people want exhaust first or intake first. They do that, and then they move up to a flash or underdrive pulley, as depending on their finances, and a lot of times a front mount intercooler tends to be, if it's not done all together, usually it's done last.
So it doesn't really matter where you start, it's just if you start.